Hello, loud teachers, and welcome to Learning is Not Quiet presents Broadway Musical Mania, a reading test prep. Today, I'm going to talk about how I use this particular Teachers Pay Teachers product in my classroom. I've actually used this for 6 whole years, and I have built on it, and I have loved it, and I've seen so much progress in my students, and so I'm really excited to share that with you today. I'm also going to talk about some of the pitfalls you might want to avoid with this product, as well as some strategies for differentiating it to meet the needs of all of your students. So without further ado, let's get started. And you may notice I have my little puppy here on my lap, and that is because she refuses to allow me to record this video without her presence. So you've made yourself known, Bruschetta, and that's why there's some sniffling in this video, even though this video has nothing to do with pugs. So let's begin. If you're watching this video, it's likely because you've purchased or are interested in purchasing this Broadway Musical Mania reading test prep found in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. If you are not familiar with that, links are found in the description to my store, this product, as well as other products you might be interested in. Please note that prices are subject to change. So with that, I'm going to talk about first how I created this product and what the idea was behind this product. My first year teaching, I was a science teacher in a Title I school in Alexandria, Virginia, teaching 6th and 7th grade science. And my school really emphasized using reading in the classroom every day, and I particularly used a lot of music in my classroom, both in science songs, which are also definitely available on my Teachers Pay Teachers store, but also in finding lyrics to songs and science-based songs and having students follow along with their pencil and analyze the words to that. There was this awesome company called Rhythm Rhyme Results that is unfortunately no longer in business, but they were awesome. And I really saw the engagement of my students as they were listening to a song and following along, and how much better readers it made them, even though that wasn't my intention as their science teacher. So I saw that, and then the next year I became a 5th grade all subjects teacher. And I saw that my students were pretty good readers, actually, but they really struggled to answer the standardized questions that they were given on assessments throughout the year. And so I wanted to remedy this in my classroom. So what I did was I went home, like any normal teacher would, over Christmas break, and I printed out every single released standardized test that I could find, mostly Virginia SOLs, but also some Common Core stuff, mostly 5th grade, but also some 4th and 6th grade. I really wanted to understand what kind of questions were being asked and if there was any common threads in how we asked standardized questions about reading. I also looked at the standards language and really tried to focus on those things when I was creating this product. So this was a way for me to keep that engagement going with students listening to the song and following along without losing that focus on the standards, without losing that focus on testing language. I saw an immediate boost in my student scores. So I started using this for about a month, and right away, I saw an increase in their scores. And at the end of the year, I actually polled parents and students, and not every student loved doing Broadway Musical Mania, but almost every student and every parent agreed that it had made their student a better reader. Some students love this, and they come into school and they're like clapping and cheering when they see Broadway Musical Mania on the schedule, and they're like, yeah, Broadway. And some of the kids are like, oh God, I can't believe you're making me listen to this stuff. Either way, it makes them a better reader, and I think my students accept that not everything they do in my class will be something they love, but it is with intention. And so some of the students, like I said, really love it and have discovered a whole new type of music they didn't know existed, and it has encouraged kids to try out for the school play. But there are also a handful of students who never bought into the Broadway musical, but it still made them a better reader. Why Broadway? So I have been listening to Broadway since I was a little kid in like kindergarten, 1st grade, and I have never stopped listening. My favorite growing up was Phantom of the Opera, and now it's like Wicked, Hamilton, Rent. I love all kinds of Broadway musicals, and I have noticed how much they have helped me as a reader and as a writer understand better vocabulary. Unlike other types of music, Broadway songs tend to use this really elevated kind of language, and so I had exposure to vocabulary that my classmates did not have because of the music I listened to. Also, Broadway musicals tell stories in a way that other songs don't always do. And so I was exposed to the elements of stories and good storytelling before some of my classmates who weren't exposed to Broadway musicals. And so those are kind of the things that I wanted to bring into this product. And like I said, I've used this for 6 years, and it's not like I used it once or twice. Like, I have used this every week for 6 years. And I truly believe in this method, and I hope that you really see the same success that I have with my students using this product. An unexpected consequence of this product is I've seen teachers who teach drama or music use this in their classroom because they're also being pressured to have more standardized testing language, to have more concrete, gradable things. And that's great. I really don't think this takes away from the enjoyment and love of Broadway musicals or the enjoyment of the arts or the enjoyment of reading. And it really just adds to it. And it really strengthens students' skills with standardized testing. So that's kind of the theory behind this. And how I created it. It's very standards focused, it's very reading focused, but it also really exposes students to a new type of music. Okay, so how this works in a daily lesson plan is, and I would usually do this on Fridays. The first year I started out doing this, I did it as Musical Mania Mondays, but I found it to be a lot better if I could teach a reading strategy in the beginning of the week or throughout the week, and then use this as a kind of assessment or a kind of practice of what we've been talking about on the last day. So when you open this up, you're going to see a lesson plan that looks like this. And it says step 1 is to pass out the lyrics to the students, have them talk about anything they notice, the format of the song. Another strategy that I've used, especially if you have Avid in your school, is they number the stanzas. And I really expose my students to that word stanza just by giving them these sheets and saying number the stanzas. And that's a concept I don't have to teach later when we get to poetry. 2, I play the song through once and students follow along. I give them a big question to look for. Okay, so kind of a variation on how I switched this throughout the years is to elevate the rigor of this, especially for schools that are really pushing that, is to have students sit down, come in, and read the text quietly to themselves. And I have like either an anchor chart, sticky notes, journal, and I have students write what they think this song is about, what they take away. Sometimes I will have students who are especially like second language learners, and if they can't approach the text at that level without listening to it, I have them literally take a highlighter and highlight all the words they know in the song just so that they're engaged and like practicing those sight words. So that's kind of step 1. Step 2 is I play the song and I have them look through. Some other ways that I've kind of used that is I will have students look for great examples of word choice, and I see their vocabulary really expand in their writing because they see that it doesn't sound pretentious and it can sound really authentic when authors and characters use these kind of big words in their writing. It also really gives a model for imagery and metaphors and similes, and so I might have students highlight and look for those particular things. Another differentiation that I have done is as I play the song the second or third time, I have students draw pictures to help with that visualization of what they think is happening in the text. So all of those are kind of ways, ideally, if you're in a kind of a high school drama class, you might only play the song once, have them answer the questions, and then kind of move on to the big questions. So it really just depends on the level that your students are at and whether your goal is music and drama or language arts reading. Okay, so then I usually have a discussion about the big questions. I have them notice certain things, clarify confusing vocabulary and concepts. We often talk about dialogue. And one of the things particular I focus on with dialogue is dialect. So what kind of voice do the characters have? Why did the author give them that voice? Is it to make them seem charming or lovable or angry or evil? And so you can bring in all kinds of things like character traits, like dialogue, like dialect, like and I also use as a word choice, I might have someone say, give me a good example of word choice that you find in this text. And then I'll say, can anyone tell me what the lame way to say that would be? And so an example might be in think of me fondly. What would go there instead of fondly? Think of me well, right? And so that kind of gets students in that context clues mind frame as well. Then finally through the song, I have the students listen again. I might have them look for a different big question, and then I pass out the Musical Mania sheet. They work on it independently or together. Depending on the song or lesson, we will go through the questions together and work on test-taking strategies. So that's another differentiation point too. If I have a more advanced class that I'm ready to really look at how they've looked at reading and standardized test taking throughout the whole year, I let them do it on their own, and I take it as a grade. If I'm working on specific test-taking skills, I might have students get out highlighters, and I might have them highlight a specific focus word from each question. So for example, if it says, what is the main idea of this text? I'll have them highlight main idea, and we might talk, what is main idea? Oh, it's what this is mostly about. And so again, it just is different ways to use this in your classroom depending on the time of year, depending on your goals and objectives. Okay, so this page, and I'm using empty chairs and empty tables as an example. You'll see that there's the video link, the lyrics link, and some big questions. Now, a pitfall to avoid about the video and lyrics. I made this, again, 6 years ago, so some of the video and lyric links have expired, do not exist anymore. It is okay. Here's all you need to do, minor fix, is go to Google, type in empty chairs and empty tables, I know it's today, whatever the song is, and then the word lyrics, and you will, I am positive, get 100 different choices for your lyrics, and all you need to do is print it. So that's very simple. If you want to save on paper, I know at one of my schools I was limited on the number of copies I could make. I project the lyrics, but again, that's not as strong as having the lyrics in front of you, especially if you have lower learners who really need that tactile motion and often taking that eraser and following along word for word as it's playing. So just kind of be mindful about that. And the same thing with the video. I usually don't show the video to the students until after they're finished answering the questions because the video can give too much away. But again, if your students are lower and you think it's more beneficial for them to watch the video as they do the questions, that's fine too. So you'll see here, there's also big questions. So these are questions I might want to have a discussion about, even though they're not in the actual test prep question. So for this one, it's like, what emotions does this character feel? And if you're familiar with Les Mis and you're familiar with Empty Chairs and Empty Tables, it is a very emotional song. And with that in particular, I talk about, what's the difference between a character trait and an emotion? Because this character who's singing might not be usually sad, right? So they're not a sad character trait, but their emotion, their tone in the song is sad. And that's a really good way to differentiate between those two things. What do you think the author of this why do you think the author of this musical chose to include this song? What message do you think we can get from the song? And so this is where kids will start to bring up really crazy things. Maybe it's bravery. Maybe it's how to get over loss. Maybe it is about regrets and things like that, patriotism. All of those things are great to talk about. How does the volume change to the song? Why does it change? And for this one, it's because the character gets more and more emotional. What figurative languages does the author use? And for this one, I actually have students picture this in their minds. So at one point it says, phantom faces at the window, phantom shadows on the floor. And I try to have the students, okay, is he literally saying there's ghosts at the window that he can see and are scary, like on Halloween? And they're like, no, that would be weird in this song. And so that really helps them understand what figurative versus literal language is. So then once you have done all those steps, this is kind of what that product looks like. There's a question, some multiple choice. There's also usually some paragraph or written answers, and some of them also have a graphic organizer. For example, Loathing, or I forget what the other more official name of that song is. Compares and contrasts Glinda and Elphaba. Surrey on top, we try to guess what a Surrey is. So there's all different kinds of reading strategies that are interwoven throughout, but it really scaffolds and builds on itself. And like I said, I have seen incredible success with this product for my students, and I really hope that you have the same and that this builds the next generation of awesome Broadway enthusiasts who really also connect that and enjoy reading and writing as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked this product and are interested in more, there are whole tons of reading strategy bundles, which all include a separate Broadway Musical Mania at the end. There is also 5th grade Common Core Reading Every Standard posters and reading passage practice for you to also apply. Again, using the language of testing, but this is kind of the next step where students are using that language of testing on a passage and not on a Broadway musical song. Also, Dystopian Future book clubs and other book clubs really help students practice the vocabulary, word choice, and all of these strategies that we talk about in Broadway Musical Mania. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for training and encouraging the next group of awesome readers and writers. Have a wonderful day. Adios.